Joining us now is Matt Bennett. He's with Third Way, a public policy group based in Washington, D.C. Before that, he was with Americans for Gun Safety, and at the moment, he joins us live from Washington. The president was clearly very emotional, Mr. Bennett, in making his announcement today. Frustrated, perhaps exasperated. We all watched those emotions play out. First of all, your reaction to the measures that he announced.
Well, we applaud them. The president is doing absolutely everything that he can, everything in his executive power to keep guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them, mostly criminals and the mentally ill. And with these steps, he is really reaching as far as he possibly can go without action from Congress. He's incredibly frustrated, as many of us are. The Congress has failed to act time after time, no matter how horrific the scenes get. And he's just doing everything he can do without them.
There seemed to be a tone in what he said today as well that reflected the sense that this is going to be a long haul. You know, he said that fixing the problem of gun violence in the U.S. is not going to happen during his presidency either. So how effective can these changes announced today be?
They could be modestly effective, and I think the president wasn't overselling exactly how much of an impact they would have. They can change at the margins the way that people sell guns, those who are not licensed to do so. They can help a little bit to make the background check system better. Hopefully, he will be able to get some more money in the budget from Congress to put some more ATF, or the agency that regulates guns, on the street, agents on the street. But he's very realistic that it really requires legislation if we're going to make big change in the way that guns are sold or possessed in the United States.
And so what, in your view, what would be, if you'll pardon the pun, the magic bullet here? What would need to happen?
It's impossible to avoid puns in gun politics, unfortunately. What we really need to do is close the gaping loopholes in the background check system. Remember that the background check system was instituted in 1993 with the passage of what's called the Brady Act. And in 1993, the internet did not exist. Now, the way that criminals can get guns is to go online at sites like armslist.com, and they can buy and sell guns all they want without going through background checks. So that and the loophole that allows those kinds of sales at gun shows need to be closed. That's the most important thing that Congress can do right now.
But isn't that somewhat close to what he announced today? What's the difference?
Well, the big difference is that he can't require that everyone go through a background check. What he said was, if you are only pretending not to be a gun dealer, in other words, if you are really in the business of selling guns, if you're selling multiple guns a month, if you have business cards, if you're going around to gun shows and selling guns, you're a gun dealer. And if you're a gun dealer, you have to put your buyers through background checks. Too many people online and at gun shows are pretending just to be hobbyists or enthusiasts and not gun dealers, and therefore are able to sell guns without checks and without any questions asked at all.
Critics of what he announced today, there were some Republican presidential nominees, the NRA and others, saying, look, even if these things had been in place, the mass shootings that got the biggest headlines in the past year would not have been prevented. What do you say to the fact that there are people saying, look, what you're talking about isn't going to fix a problem, it's actually just going to infringe on rights?
The mass shootings are horrific and they capture the imagination, but there are 33 gun murders every single day in the United States. That is, the day after the Sandy Hook shooting, in which 20 first graders and 6 adults were murdered, more than that were killed in gun violence in the United States the very next day. So this is much bigger than the horrifying as they are, kind of black swan events that make the news. This is an endemic, enormous problem, and what the president's trying to do is to help solve it.
He certainly noted the fact that this is an election year and essentially said to the American public, look, the Republicans on the right are saying they don't support this, but if you tell them you won't vote for them unless they do, they'll change their minds. How much political will is there within the American public to do something?
Well, that's the magic question, and the answer is probably not enough. The American public has only rallied to move Congress to change the law twice in the last 50 years, or really ever. Once in 1968 after the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy, and then again in 1993 when Bill Clinton was president and the Democrats controlled both the House and the Senate. Before and since, there has been no progress on gun laws. So while the support for gun laws is very broad, it hasn't been deep enough to get Congress to act.
Matt Bennett, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Matt is with Third Way, a public policy group based in Washington, D.C.